You're sitting alone. The last message she sent was 7 days ago. Her name lights up your screen, but it's an old message. 7 days have passed. No replies, no calls, nothing. And yet, your mind can't stop playing back those last few moments with her. The way she looked at you, the way she lingered in your presence like she didn't want to leave. You felt a connection. You felt warmth. But now, you feel the absence. So, what happened? Your logic whispers, she's losing interest. But deep down, a different voice speaks louder. What if her silence isn't indifference but a reflection of your inner state? What if her distance isn't meant to push you away, but to pull something deeper out of you? And what if your response right now determines whether her feelings fade or solidify forever? Comment below, "I hold my frame." Let that phrase anchor you, because this journey isn't just about her behavior. It's about how you show up in moments that feel uncertain, uncomfortable, and unpredictable. This is for every man who's ever asked, why did she stop responding when things felt so real? In the next few minutes, you'll understand why women pull away, even when they care, and exactly how a man anchored in presence, not panic, becomes unforgettable. And if this message hits deep, support this channel, not for me, but for the next man sitting in that same silence, wondering if she loves him or not. 1. She senses your presence, even when you're silent. You're staring at your phone, no reply, no notification, just silence. Your mind spirals. Did I mess up? Did I say too much? Not enough? But while you're trapped in overthinking, she's feeling, observing, picking up on the energy you don't even realize you're giving off. You think she's backing off, that she's losing interest. But what's really happening? She's listening to the part of you that doesn't speak, the energy behind your words, the confidence behind your silence. A woman doesn't drift away without reason. She feels the shift before you even speak it out loud. She picks up on the anxious pauses, the overeager texts, the invisible thread of need tugging behind every message. And the moment she feels you slipping into dependency, when your sense of self starts to lean on her approval, she retreats. Not to hurt you, not to play games, but to see something deeper. Most men panic at this point. They speed up instead of slowing down. They message more, call more, prove more, trying to win back what they fear they've lost. But here's the truth. Every move you make from fear confirms her suspicion that you're not the grounded man you first appeared to be. She's not pulling back because she doesn't care. She's pulling back to see if you do. Not just care about her, but care enough about yourself to stay rooted in your own power, even when she pulls away. That silence, it's not a void, it's a mirror. And the man who doesn't flinch is the one who stands out. Women feel stronger in what they don't say than in what they do. She feels when you're solid, when your world doesn't wobble just because hers shifted. And yes, she especially feels it when you're trying too hard, because desperation isn't attractive, stillness is. The truth is this: attraction isn't created in ease. It's forged in uncertainty, in how you respond when things stop being predictable. So, what do you do when she starts pulling away? You don't run after her. You don't interrogate the silence. You don't rewrite history in your mind. You turn inward. You double down on yourself. Hit the gym. Lock into your routine. Rebuild your momentum. Reclaim your discipline. Because it's not your words she's drawn to. It's your pull, your gravity. And gravity comes from being centered in yourself. The more silent you become, the more your energy speaks. Let her take her space. Let her retreat. Let her watch you not crumble. Validate yourself when she doesn't, because the moment she senses that her presence doesn't define your peace, curiosity sparks again. That's how human nature works. What walks away becomes intriguing. What clings too tightly repels. Stand firm, let her move, and you become what she feared losing all along, a man with purpose, a man who holds stillness in the storm, a man who doesn't seek love to fill a void, but who brings love as an overflow of strength. So, how do you pass this moment? Start with stillness. Kill the instinct to react. Replace it with movement in your life, not your messages. Let her absence be background noise, not your entire playlist. Show her, not through words, but through your energy, that you are not the type of man who follows every mood shift. You lead from within. You don't chase, you attract. You don't crumble, you ascend. You don't beg, you build. Because beneath the silence, she's not hoping for a message. She's hoping for proof. Proof that you are unshakable, not just in appearance, but at your core. Speak less, focus more. Let your stillness make more noise than your desperation ever could. You're not being rejected. You're being evaluated. Every choice you make now will show her one of two things. Either you're just another man who crumbles when tested, or you're something she's never experienced before. Now pause. Ask yourself honestly, are you the man who needs her validation to stand tall, or the man whose stillness makes her realize she just lost something rare? 2. Be the foundation, not the storm. She's distant, short replies, less warmth, slower responses. You feel it, like a shift in the air before a storm. But while most men chase, question, or panic, you must become something she doesn't expect, still, rooted, unmoved. Because here's the truth. She's not measuring your words. She's measuring your center, not your effort, your equilibrium. The second she senses that your emotions start to rise and fall based on hers, something inside her pulls back even further. Not because she wants to hurt you, but because she's trying to see something deeper. A woman can't relax into a man who breaks when tested. If she gives a dry reply and you instantly jump into overdrive, trying to entertain, to fix, to win her back, she sees the mask fall. If she creates space and you rush to fill it with validation, apologies, or over-explanations, she knows that the man in front of her needs her attention to feel whole, that he's not steady, he's reactive, and that's not who she wants, not deep down. You see, attraction isn't built on how perfect you are when everything is going well. It's built on who you are when things start to go sideways. When her energy changes, do you collapse? When her words go cold, do you chase for warmth? When she pulls back, do you chase forward? The man who can hold still when things shift is the man she can trust. And trust, my friend, is the foundation of attraction. She doesn't need another emotional whirlwind. She is the whirlwind. She needs your center. That's what she's testing for, your stability. Not because she's cruel, but because her soul is wired to seek security. She wants to know, if I pull away, will he spiral or stay grounded? If I test him, will he react or remain rooted? If I get lost in my chaos, can he still hold presence? This is not a game. It's instinct. So you must become the anchor. You must show her, not through talk, but through presence, that you are the man who doesn't fold under pressure, that when the wind picks up, you don't become the wind, you become the wall. Now, don't mistake being grounded for being cold. You're not shutting her out. You're simply not letting her turbulence control your temperature. You're not ignoring her. You're holding your ground. You're not indifferent. You're inevitable. Because the truth is, Women feel deeply, quickly, and often without filters. That doesn't make them weak. It makes them human. But they cannot trust a man who mirrors their chaos with his own. They want a man whose feet are on the ground, even when theirs are floating in emotional fog. So when she says, "I need space," give it with calm. When she seems off, don't rush to diagnose. Wait, watch, hold presence. Let her come down on her own terms, knowing you never left your post. This isn't about pretending to be emotionless. It's about being emotionally disciplined. It's not about being robotic. It's about being resilient. When her tide rises, you don't get swept away. You observe, you breathe, you respond, not react. That's what separates the boys from the men. Because she doesn't want you to explode when she does. She wants to feel the weight of your stillness when everything else is spinning. She wants to look at you in the middle of her storm and think, "He's not running. He's not cracking. He's still here." So what should you do? Stop needing her to stabilize your mood. Stop letting her emotions become your weather report. Stop giving away your center just to stay in her good graces. Instead, lock in on your mission. Make your habits stronger than her silence. Make your focus sharper than her shifts. Build your routine, your fitness, your finances, your faith, your future. Not to impress her, but to become immovable. Because the man she stays with is the man she feels safe losing. Why? Because he never loses himself. So ask yourself, when she changes, do you flinch? When she retreats, do you chase? Or do you anchor so deeply into your identity that nothing she does can move you? Be the wall, the man she doesn't have to fix, the man she can test and still feel safe beside. The man who holds his ground, not with force, but with peace. Because in a world full of storms, stillness is irresistible. Third, her chaos isn't your challenge, it's your calling. She's emotional. Not sometimes, often, not lightly, deeply. One moment she's warm, the next she's distant. Her tone changes, her words confuse you, and suddenly you feel like you're walking on emotional eggshells. But here's the truth few men ever learn. She doesn't need you to solve her storm. She needs to feel you won't get swept away by it. Her chaos doesn't require correction. It craves containment, not with rules or force, with presence, with stillness. That rare kind of masculine calm that doesn't interrupt her process, but absorbs it. Most men think they need to fix her, that when she's spiraling, they have to jump in, make her feel better, say all the right things, calm her down, explain, defend, prove. But that's not what she wants. She wants to look at you mid-storm and feel something solid, unmoved, unrattled, real. She's not testing you to be cruel. She's testing to see if you can hold space, not just for her emotions, but for her truth. She wants to feel safe, not physically, but emotionally. Safe enough to let go of control. Safe enough to fall apart without fearing you'll fall apart too. Because if her emotions can shake you, then you're not the man she thought you were. And in her subconscious mind, if you can't hold her, how will you hold a family, a future, a life built together? You want her respect? Then stop reacting to every mood swing. Stop over-explaining every time she pulls back. Stop taking every emotional moment as a personal attack. Her storm is hers, but how you show up in it defines you. The weak man tries to silence the noise. The strong man becomes the calm beneath it. The weak man fights for control. The strong man stands in his frame, untouched. He listens, but he doesn't absorb. He feels, but he doesn't flinch. Not because he doesn't care, but because he's capable. You want to be rare? Then act like it. Be the man who doesn't lose himself in the emotional waves. Be the man whose strength isn't in how loud he gets, but how still he remains. Because stillness, that is power. The kind of power that doesn't shake when the world around it spins. So, how do you hold your calm? You master your emotional responses. You train your nervous system to slow down, not speed up. You learn to breathe instead of break, to pause instead of panic, to observe instead of react. You stop treating her fire as a threat and start treating it like a signal that she's searching for something stable, a signal that her feminine energy is trying to feel your masculine edge. And if you keep escalating when she breaks down, if you keep chasing when she backs off, if you keep explaining when she needs space, you become just like everyone else, unsafe. But when she sees you absorb her emotion with grace, respond with presence, not panic, she feels it, she respects it, and most importantly, she relaxes into it. Because now she knows your peace isn't performative, it's earned. And no emotional wave she throws will knock you over. So what should you do? Discipline your energy. Channel your emotion into building, not begging. Put that fire into your purpose, your progress, your power. Build your body. Train your mind. Stack your vision. Grow your finances. Strengthen your tribe. Because the stronger you become in yourself, the calmer you'll be in her storm. And she'll feel it, not in your words, but in your energy. Because calm energy doesn't say, I'm not affected. It says, I'm not controlled. She's not asking you to fix her chaos. She's asking, can you stand in it and not fall apart? And if the answer is yes, if you can respond, not react, then she'll surrender to something even more powerful than emotion. She'll surrender to your presence. So ask yourself, do you get emotional with her or grounded for her? Do you try to control her feelings or create space for them? Do you become the storm or become the shore? Because the man she stays with is the one she cannot shake. Not because he resists her fire, but because he absorbs it like a king. Fourth, let her go, but keep the frame open. She's pulling away. You can feel it in the silence, in the change of tone, in the space that keeps growing between her words. And it hurts. That cold silence hits harder than any fight. It presses on your chest. It stirs your thoughts. It makes your hands want to text, to call, to do something. But listen carefully. The moment you chase, you lose frame. Not because chasing is weak, but because it tells her something about your core. It tells her that your center is fragile, that your self-worth depends on her attention, that your peace cracks when she moves. And the man who needs her approval to feel strong, that's not the man she can trust long-term. See, your strength was never supposed to come from her presence. It's supposed to remain even in her absence. Let her walk, not because you don't care, but because you do. You care enough to respect her process. You care enough to hold your ground without punishing her with silence or smothering her with need. She wants to feel that you can let go and still stay in your power, that your emotional world doesn't collapse just because she's creating distance. That's the test. And here's what most men don't understand. You don't keep her by holding tighter. You keep her by holding steadier. So when she says, I need time, give it. When she pulls back, don't rush forward. When she stops reaching out, don't fill the void with desperate validation. Let her experience the space without your panic. Let her feel the contrast between your stillness and the noise of the world. Let her discover that even in silence, you remain grounded. Because if she comes back, it won't be because you begged. It'll be because she missed the energy you didn't force on her. That's what separates you from every other man who flooded her inbox when she got quiet, from every guy who couldn't hold frame when things got hard. You want to be unforgettable? Then become unbothered. Not emotionally numb, but emotionally secure. You don't trap her with fear. You attract her with peace. She doesn't want to feel like a prisoner in your affection. She wants to feel like she has freedom without losing your respect. That's powerful. That's what makes her curious in the quiet. Because while other men are reacting, begging, fighting to stay in her life, you are building, you are moving forward. You are becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to be chosen to feel whole, but who becomes impossible to forget. Let her wonder about your silence. Let her feel the weight of your absence, not your resentment. Let her feel what it's like to walk away from a man who stood still and leave the door open, not as an invitation, but as a reminder that you are always centered in who you are, that your worth was never on the line, that you loved her from choice, not from fear. So ask yourself this: when she walks, do you follow blindly? Or do you walk your own path, knowing who you are doesn't depend on who stays? Can you love her deeply and still let her go completely if needed? Because that's what she's testing. And if you pass, she won't just come back. She'll come back with respect. Not because you forced it, but because you embodied it. Because you didn't chase, you didn't fold, you didn't flinch. You remained. You let her walk. But you never walked away from your frame. 5. The strongest love is the one that doesn't need to be chased. In every man's journey, there comes a moment where he must choose, react or rise, chase or stand still, prove or simply be. When she pulls back, when she grows distant, when the warmth fades, the weak man becomes noise. He sends paragraphs. He overthinks. He floods her space with desperate energy. But the strong man? He builds in silence. He understands something deeper. That real attraction isn't fed by attention. It's fueled by mystery, intention, and energy that doesn't flinch when it's not returned. He knows her distance is not always rejection. It might be a reset. It might be her checking to see, is he really that grounded, or was it just an act? See, women don't always say what they're testing. They observe. They listen to your silences more than your speeches. They measure your power not in your pursuit, but in your presence when left alone. The truth? She's not waiting for a man who rushes in with words. She's watching for the man who stays rooted in his mission when no one's clapping. So what do you do when she drifts? You don't explain, you don't beg, you don't question your worth. You deepen your focus, you expand your life. You make yourself so unshakably magnetic that she can feel your presence, even when you're gone. That's the paradox of real masculine energy. The more secure you are in letting go, the more she feels pulled to return. The more peace you show in her absence, the more presence you hold in her mind. And eventually, if she's the right one, she'll come back, not because you chased, but because your stillness spoke louder than noise ever could. She'll remember the man who didn't panic. She'll remember the man who didn't fold. She'll remember the man who didn't beg to be chosen, because he had already chosen himself. And that is unforgettable. So ask yourself, truthfully, are you showing her your strength, or are you showing her your fear? Are you chasing her heart, or leading with your own? Because in this game, the man who wins isn't the loudest. It's the one who can walk alone, in silence, with certainty, knowing that whatever leaves his life was never meant to hold his power. If this message hit deep, it's not by accident. You're not alone, brother. Millions of men feel what you feel, but few rise the way you just did. So if you're done chasing, done doubting, and ready to master your energy, join us. Subscribe to Stoic Pro, comment below. I don't chase, I build. Share this video with a man who needs this truth today. Remember, the most magnetic man in the room is the one who knows he doesn't need to speak to be felt. Your silence isn't weakness, it's power. Use it wisely.